Hey everyone, how are you? So there's a story that's been making the rounds on the political internet about a lady named Carol Hui in the town of Kennett, Missouri. Kennett is exactly the kind of small rural town that Trump has relied on for his entire political career. And holy shit does that feel like forever ago. I'm almost jealous of the me who had no idea who the hell Donald Trump was. But then I remember how much shittier my life was then and it kinda evens out. But I'm not here to bitch about my problems. I'm here to bitch about Carol's problems. As you see, Carol recently found herself on the wrong side of some iron bars. This was a big surprise for her neighbors in Kennett. They'd known Carol for a little while now, about 20 years give or take, and everybody loved her. Carol worked as a waitress at a local diner, and with a town of only 10,000 people, she got to know pretty much everybody. In all those years, she never caused a problem for anyone. No run ins with the law, no fighting with neighbors over a fence or some bullshit. Just a friendly, hardworking lady who did her job, paid her taxes, and raised 3 kids. So how'd she wind up locked up? Well, the problem for Carol was that she was an immigrant. She'd long overstayed her visa, but had been allowed to stay due to repeated temporary reprieves from Uncle Sam. Those stays ended in April. Uncle Sam was under new, more orange management, and there would be no more reprieves. Carol received a call to drive to a government office 3 hours away, which scared the shit out of both her and her Guatemalan born partner. But Carol was someone who did the right thing. She wasn't going to run from the law. She went in and was taken away. The people of Kennett were shocked. All of a sudden, somebody they'd known for years just up and vanished. And they were doubly surprised to find out that she was in jail awaiting deportation. The town collectively freaked out that this was happening to their friend. Shirts were made, petitions were signed, they even had a Carol Day declared. You get the idea. They wanted Carol back. Now, I'm not going to say this story had a happy ending, but it has had a happy pause. Once the story went national and got enough attention, Carol was released. For now. She will be checking back in with authorities in a few weeks. What happened to Carol, and is in fact still happening, is horrific. To be taken from your family with no warning, having done nothing wrong, and then stuck in a cell for a month is something that most people will thankfully never experience. And of course, Carol is lucky. At least she wasn't sent to that hellhole gulag in El Salvador. Now, this isn't a video where I talk about the cruelty and stupidity of Trump's immigration policy, how they're specifically targeting people who they know aren't criminals, how the whole point is to scare the shit out of people, and how it's costing the rest of us to do so. And that's going to be another video. I want to have a different conversation, one that's been going on in the comment sections of these articles about Carol and all over the political internet. The people of Kennett voted 80% for Donald Trump, and Trump's policies put Carol in jail. Now the question is, are the people of Kennett guilty of fucking over their friend? Is it their fault that her life and livelihood are in danger along with millions of immigrants just like her? So I've mentioned a few times before that I'm a fan of the Bulwark channel here on YouTube, and one of their journalists, JVL, had this to say.
I have nothing but boundless contempt for these people.
Yeah.
Can I tell you why?
Yes.
Because nowhere in any of this story is there even a glimmer of recognition that they did this to their friend. They look at this as like a tornado came through town and blew up Carol's house. And it didn't hit anybody else's house. How can it be? Oh, it's just a tornado. Oh! This isn't a tornado. You voted for it. You asked for this. Saying that somebody hears what they want to hear is a euphemism for one of two things. Either they're too stupid to understand the world, or they are choosing as a moral act to blind themselves.
So
Now I understand why he thinks this way. The facts are clear. There aren't 20 million legal alien criminals in this country. Every single piece of data that we have is absolutely clear that immigrants, legal or not, commit fewer crimes than American citizens, and it's not close. Moreover, this data comes from Republican-controlled Texas, which is the only state that specifically records criminal records by immigration status. It's almost funny. There's a direct reverse correlation between immigration status and crime. American citizens commit the most crime, followed by legal immigrants, and then illegal immigrants commit the fewest crimes. Trump is lying his ass off. But just because something is clear doesn't make it obvious. Clear becomes obvious when you look at it. But most people aren't digging through crime statistics. They're doing their jobs, living their lives. They're trusting other people, political leaders, news organizations, etc., to do this for them. It's just that the people they trust are lying to them. And there are a lot of things that people call character that I really think are more like a set of learned skills. For example, admitting when you're wrong is a skill. Knowing how to check if you're being lied to is a skill. Putting yourself in the shoes of someone else, especially someone far away who you don't know, is a skill. Breaking away from a group is a skill, and all these skills need to be taught and reinforced. But, just like all the good things in a person can be reinforced, so can the bad things. Cognitive dissonance, rushing to judgment, hatred of outgroups, these things exist inside all of us. I can just imagine the scene inside that diner, the one Carol worked at where she met all her friends. I can almost see the TVs on the wall, one playing ESPN, the other playing Fox News, with nobody changing the channel in 20 years. These people are being fed on poison for decades, and unless you know exactly what to look for, you won't even notice. Sarah, also from the Bulwark, is pretty much on my side of the issue here, and I think I know why. She does focus groups for the Bulwark and spends a lot of time talking to Trump voters. So do I. The majority of them are neither stupid nor evil. In fact, many of them are very intelligent and very decent. But none of that makes them immune from being lied to and propagandized. I've seen the way that the kind of lies Trump and his cronies knowingly tell affect people. They're being fed a constant diet of anger and fear and paranoia. The worst part of it all is that MAGA leverages people's values, their patriotism, their faith, their belief in freedom, their love of family, and corrupts it all. MAGA makes decent people do bad things. And on top of that is the internal prosecution. Republicans have been told for decades that the regular people on the other side, the average Democratic voter, isn't just a liar or wrong, but is an actual demon who wants to destroy America. There are so many churches where politics completely overtakes the pulpit, and if anyone questions the party line, they're out. Adam Kinzinger's family sent him a letter saying he was in the devil's army because of the role he played in the 1-6 committee. And I can tell you from personal experience that it is hard to go against the people around you, the people that you're closest to. And it's hard to admit when you're wrong. There are a lot of things I believed sincerely and deeply when I was younger that I realized today were and are just plain wrong. But I was lucky. I was young enough that my mind was still flexible and good at adapting to new ideas. I was also lucky that I'd read certain scientific and historical things that gave me perspective. Moreover, I was lucky to grow up with friends who were black and gay. There were so many people and events that helped me along this path. I guess my perspective here comes from understanding what Trump voters are up against. They're under assault from a non-stop propaganda machine that has been built up to take advantage of them for over 50 years. I can't help but see them as victims, especially since they're also getting screwed. Literally everything is worse in red states: income, education, life expectancy, teen pregnancy, murder rate, etc. The overwhelming majority of the people who voted for Trump will lose out in one way or another because of it. Medicaid is critically important for me, life or death. Much like the post-World War II international order, my lumbar spine is falling apart, and I'm not carrying this thing around as a fucking fashion statement. Not that I'd know fashion if it bit me in the ass. I'd had surgery a month ago, and I'm getting another major operation in a few weeks. It's not fun. Side note, if you're in New Jersey and have anything wrong with your brain or spine, look up Dr. Giorgio Rotoli. I fell into his hands completely by accident when my back went out again and I wound up in the emergency room. I was unbelievably lucky to get him for my operation. Best surgeon I've ever had, and for my age I've had too many. Anyway, Trump's big beautiful bullshit budget is taking an axe to Medicaid. Now I'm lucky. I live in a blue state that doesn't have a trigger law that would automatically cut my coverage if federal funding is reduced. Plus, the Senate hasn't yet been able to pass this turd. They're a bunch of old men, so what do you expect? So I'll probably be okay, for now. But that could change. If these assholes fully repeal the Obama Medicaid expansions, as they've wanted to for years, my coverage would be gone. All of this really is life or death for me. The reason that I wound up in the emergency room last time was because I was in so much pain I didn't sleep for 3 days. And then 3 more days until I got into the operating room. Let me tell you, 6 days without sleep is a trip, literally. By the end, I was seeing all these dark shadows zipping about, and I kept having to ask people if I sounded crazy or if I could communicate normally. Without Medicaid, I would have either killed myself from the pain or wound up in so much debt that it would have destroyed my whole future. But I have people in my life very close to me who voted for Trump. They don't want me to suffer and die, but that's what the consequence of their vote will be. I'm gonna suffer, they're gonna suffer, and millions of people we'll never meet will suffer. It's sad and it's scary, and of course sometimes I'm tempted to just grab them by the shoulders and yell, "Open your fucking eyes!" But like I said, everyone is both good and bad in them. It just depends on what you reinforce. I recognize that it's my bad instincts that make me want to lash out. It's my impatience, my exasperation, my anger that come out in those moments, and that's why I choose a different approach. I understand that there's good in their hearts that's just been covered up by years of propagandistic horseshit from people who do know better. JVL said that he had boundless contempt for the people of Kennett because their votes helped put Carol Hui in jail. I feel sad for them because they were lied to and they believed it and it hurt their friend. But that's not saying that I'm lacking in boundless contempt. I've got contempt aplenty, I just save my shit for the people who really deserve it. I keep it tight and targeted. There are people in power who know exactly what they are doing, who are hurting innocent people on purpose in order to get ahead for themselves, and who really just don't give a shit who suffers for it. Here's a perfect example. Let me introduce you to this nuclear dog-fucking ass clown, U.S. Senator Joni Ernst. She did a town hall recently where some people were pretty blunt in expressing their worries about Medicaid cuts.
People are not, well, we all are going to die.
Here we can see the senators expressing the kind of deep empathy that we would expect from paragons of virtue like Hannibal Lecter or Caligula. But don't worry, folks, this bitch ain't done yet.
Hello, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Holy shit. Can you fucking believe that? Can you believe that? People come up to her sincerely fearing for their lives and their health. She spits in their faces, and then instead of apologizing, this outrageous weasel prick decides to double down. It's not enough for her to take people's medical care. She has the audacity to make fun of them while she's doing it. Let me reply in the same spirit of outright contempt. Dear Senator Dumbfuck, as a clarification, your voters are fully fucking aware that everybody dies. That wasn't the issue. The issue is that most of us would like to delay that point as much as we can, and that requires medical treatment, which, without insurance, is mind-bogglingly expensive. And you fucking know it. I noticed that while you're cutting coverage for the poorest amongst us, you aren't taking a penny from the AAA Uber coverage that senators get now, are you? And let's get into this fake-ass Christianity. Whenever somebody like Ernst or Mike Johnson talks about their tremendous holiness, it It has nothing to do with Jesus Christ or his teachings. It's just a deep primal scream that says, I'm better than you, I'm better than you, I'm better than you. Because that's what these assholes really believe. They think they're special, and they deserve better treatment than us riff-raff, us hoi polloi, us average fucking voters. But that doesn't have fuck all to do with what Jesus preached and practiced. I swear it's like these assholes think they're the only ones who can read. Well, it turns out that us riff-raff can read the Bible too, thanks to the public education system that they're trying to dismantle. And the Jesus in the Bible is a very different character than the one they're trying to push on us. Jesus didn't go to the sick and say, oh well, buddy, everybody dies. No, he healed them. He healed them even though he knew it would put him in direct physical danger. He healed them even when it contradicted religious law. He healed them not for money or for praise, but because he had compassion and empathy. Actually, every time I read the Bible, it stuns me just how well Jesus had these guys pegged. The pretentious pricks like Johnson and Ernst with their fake religiosity. Jesus was just ruthless in his mocking of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The way they constantly made a spectacle of their prayer and their faith, not because of any true conviction, but because they wanted the crowds to look at them and nod and say, oh, how holy they must be. That's why Jesus told his followers that if you really wanted to pray, you do it in the closet, privately, not as a humble brag for the world to see. Moreover, he told his closest disciples that if they really want to be great in spirit, they should make themselves servants of others rather than lord it over them. He wasn't subtle on these points either. He said it again and again and again because he understood how people in power use religion to control others rather than for any real spiritual purpose. Jesus was someone I could respect, whose values I can share and whose example I can follow, and that, despite me being a lifelong atheist who doesn't believe Jesus had any supernatural powers. Nor do I believe I'll get into heaven by following his example. When I die, I'm going to rot in the dirt like everybody else. But while I'm here, I try to be nice to my fellow human beings, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because we need each other. Moreover, in my experience, true joy in life comes not from the things you have, but from the people you're with. So to sum this all up and get back to my original point, I don't think there's any sense being mad at the people of Kennet. What happened to Carol Hui was and is a tragedy, was and is deeply unjust. But it can be used as an opportunity to actually reach the hearts of our neighbors. Hearts which are, on the whole, well-meaning and decent. Moreover, it's not like that righteous anger or Carol's treatment is nowhere to go. There are people who deserve it so much more.
People are not, well, we all are going to die.
Like this asshole. Thank you, everyone. Till next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching, and if you liked that video, then please like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more. Also, if you could please leave a comment, not just because it really helps me out with the algorithm, but also because I'm genuinely interested in what people are thinking, and I want to be able to reply. Till next time, bye-bye.